Welcome to the LinkedIn Famous Podcast, the show where we get real about what it takes to build a personal brand on LinkedIn that gets real business results. We're talking about driving revenue from a personal LinkedIn profile by sharing real and authentic stories and points of view. I am Brad Zomick, your host and the founder of Spectimer, a personal brand consultancy that helps founders and executives get LinkedIn famous. Join me for unfiltered conversations from the trenches of LinkedIn. We'll meet CEOs, go-to-market executives, subject matter experts, and company employees with blockbuster LinkedIn results. We'll unpack strategy and leave you with tactical advice to grow your personal brand and demand for your company's products and services. All right, LinkedIn hustlers, it's time to level up. Hello out there, LinkedIn makers and movers. We have an exciting guest and a rising star on LinkedIn joining us today, Bethany Stachenfeld. She is the CEO of SendSpark, a trending video prospecting tool. And I'd say more than trending, it's pretty hot out there now. She started her career in marketing, roles at FileStack and VidGrid. She started SendSpark in 2019 because of her frustration with existing video tools and their application to marketing and sales. Today, 5 years later, SendSpark has 65,000 users. They've raised $3 million to fuel growth. And 2024 was a banner year for Bethany. She was recognized as a Rev Genius Next 50 creator. She was recognized by Capchase as the top 25 B2B founder, and also by Demandbase for being one of the 100 powerful women in sales. And then most recently, Pavilion named her as a CEO to watch in 2025. She's very active on LinkedIn with almost 25,000 followers, and she added about 10,000 in the last 6 months, hence the rising star. She posts a few times a week and often about outreach, cold email, and also growing a startup. Bethany, great to have you on the podcast. Is there anything else around your background that you want to expand upon?
It's great to be here. And no, I want you to do all of my intros. This was great.
I'll send the contract over after the podcast. Tell us something about yourself that the audience couldn't learn from you from your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, so one thing is I grew up doing karate. So I'm a 3rd degree black belt in karate and still relatively involved with my dojo, though I'm not as active anymore because I moved away.
That's cool. Don't mess with Bethany, everybody, okay? Let's get into your LinkedIn journey. What motivated and inspired you to start investing in your LinkedIn presence?
Honestly, we were just doing everything we could think of to grow the company, and it's one of those things that really stuck. So I'd say when I first started posting, it was just one of the 20 growth experiments of the week. Send some cold emails, try out an ad, post on LinkedIn, post a YouTube video, write a blog post. I think I've just tried a lot of things. I think one of the things I really like about LinkedIn is that if you're an early stage founder without a ton of funding or capital or anything to work with, it's just a way to be authentic and tell the world what you're doing. So we got some instant feedback that it was a good way to reach customers and connect to the community right away, and kept doubling down, and now I'm pretty active, yeah.
Awesome. Were there any challenges early on? You're the CEO, you're the backstop for all the company's problems, but did you encounter any hiccups along the way?
I think at first it was tough to figure out what my voice was going to be, what should be coming from me and what I should be saying. Obviously, we want to share what we're building, we're growing, connecting with the community and our early customers and everything, but there's some stuff you don't want to share. So just figuring out how to find that right balance of not oversharing everything TMI versus not being generic and just saying the same stuff and the same growth tips as everyone else. And it was just important to find that middle ground of what I was learning, what was unique and what I could share that was authentic and relevant to people without going too far in either extreme.
Yeah, was there a moment where things really started to click, and what was that moment?
I remember because I was trying to think about what I should be saying and who I should be talking to, and I decided that the person I would talk to was me from the previous week. I was this is my audience. At SendSpark, we're a company that helps you grow your business. So we do sell to a lot of founders, a lot of early stage, or maybe not super early stage, but seed, A, B, not necessarily IPO founders. And so I think that's something that's relevant. I'm if I thought it'd be interesting a week ago, then other people would probably think it's interesting now. And there are some times too, because in your own head, I'll be like, maybe I'm saying this thing and it's so obvious because if you've been in the field for 10 years, you would already know it. But if at least it was new to me over the last week, it's probably new to someone else. So I think that helped, and then I've just kept that up.
I like that analogy. Sometimes I think about LinkedIn as a game of tennis, or any sport really, but when you're learning something, you want to play with somebody who might be a level or two ahead of you to stretch you. There are a lot of people who want to learn from you a week ago.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. So I dig that. Do you have any resources or systems in place that help you keep the train on track? Because you are building product, you're managing sales, you're solving whatever problems come your way. How do you make it happen? How does the sausage get made?
At SensePark, we have a culture where everyone posts on LinkedIn, or like we try it. So I wouldn't say we have anything formal in place, but I'll say if I go a couple days without posting, someone will nag me and be like, yo, your LinkedIn game's slipping, like post something. And I'll just be like, whatever I'm thinking of right then. And the same with like my co-founder and other people on the team, if someone's been like, because it's so easy, there's so many things, and like LinkedIn is the least important on my list of priorities at all times. We'll bump each other or even share a good idea, especially if like other people on your team are supposed to be posting. It can be really obvious to see what they should post, because like my co-founder, he does product and design, and every now and then he'll have these crazy breakthroughs and insights, and I'll be like, dude, you need to post it. This is game changing. And to him, he's like, oh, is it? I don't really know. I'm like, no, like that's crazy. No one thinks about things this way. So I think if you have other people that are seeing the value in LinkedIn and encouraging each other, it helps just get sparks flying.
I love that. I often tell the clients that I work with that the company is the first line of distribution. I love that you've created this culture where it's part of the DNA. And not only is it like all about distribution, but it's about brainstorming and accountability. So I think oftentimes LinkedIn can feel like this hamster wheel. Kind of once you start, you got to keep it going. It's great to have people on your team that have your back.
It like becomes, I don't say like addictive, but like it is in the way that it gives you that dopamine rush. And I'll even talk about my co-founder because he started posting more recently and he's doing design and product. And that's really scary. If you're posting about like things you're designing, it's like you're really like sharing a part of yourself. And there's a lot of resistance to that first, but then when you start doing it and then people are engaging and they're commenting, they're saying they like it, that makes it so rewarding that you want to keep doing it. But that doesn't necessarily happen at first. It takes a few tries to get the right voice. And then once you start having that flow, then I think it's a cycle that keeps running itself.
I get that. The dopamine hit for you guys, what is it? Is the impressions, the comments? Are you doing anything to track ROI to see what revenue is coming from LinkedIn?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we over optimize for it because we know it works because like people mention it on calls and stuff. I also think of LinkedIn as a good way to nurture people that we've already spoken to. So it's not always about driving like new leads. It's also a way to say, hey, if we're going to do a demo, like connect with them, and then they'll just keep saying stuff as it comes out. We're not always trying to sell. It's just about building that like brand and resonating. So I would say like for me, probably impressions is the most important metric, and like comments and likes are like a good signal as well. But it's since it's not, oh, we needed this to tie to a demo. It's just we want to make sure that we're staying top of mind.
It's clearly working. The business is doing quite well this year. Is there something you've noticed that you can feel or that is tangible?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. Like one, I would say demos for sure. Like I don't have an exact number, but I know it's driving demos. And actually there's some campaigns that we've been running where we'll do a post and then reach out to people who engage with the post or get tagged in the post about SensePark. And for those have 20 to 30% reply rates, which is very high for cold outreach, right? Compare that to most cold emails, and maybe 5% is really good. We're definitely getting higher engagement when we reach out to people who engage on LinkedIn and booking demos directly through that. But and I'm trying to think what else is quantifiable.
By the way, I want to stop you for a second. 30% reply rate in this day and age is pretty impressive. It used to be, this is like 10, 15 years ago, the reply rates were probably like always 30 to 50%. Now I think most outreach operations or the average ones are happy with 1%. So that's pretty quantifiable, yeah.
My shameless plug for SensePark is we are sending videos in those. So it'll be like, we'll do a post or take a post relevant to us, reach out to everyone who engaged with it with a little SensePark video saying, hey, looks like you're interested in X. here's a video of how SendSpark can help, and then we get the really good reply rate. Definitely LinkedIn, but also a little bit of video outreach.
Let's talk more about that. I got started in my LinkedIn journey helping build the executive presence in-house. And one of the first things we noticed before it started hitting the sales cycle and people were referencing LinkedIn, and it eventually became 50% of the deals attributed to LinkedIn in some fashion, we saw that the cold outreach immediately doubled. That was the first noticeable piece. We can dig into how you're using these LinkedIn signals to drive outreach and personalize it. What are the steps and tools? That's a fairly new frontier, or new in the last year, that people are starting to take LinkedIn engagement and using that as a data point to drive action and personalization.
Definitely. So what we'll do is we have the team post, and we'll also just keep an eye on other posts that are either relevant to us specifically, like maybe it's a customer tagging SendSpark, or a competitor posting that video, or just like anything else in the space that could be relevant. And then we'll scrape the people that engage with that post. I've been using Expandy for years. It's a really great tool. There's some other good tools out there, but like I've always used Expandy. It's always been really solid. And so that will tell us who's engaging. Now, the trade-off of doing LinkedIn is you're getting the engagement data. You're not necessarily filtering for, are they a qualified ICP role? So I'll just say that for some people, you might want to be a little bit more careful. Like you might not want to reach out to everyone, because you might not sell to everyone. For us, we have a self-service process too, so we don't really mind. We're like, more eyes, the better. So then we'll do is we'll take that list, and SendSpark actually has an Expandy integration, so we'll do this in Expandy. You can automatically generate an AI personalized video for that person where it's like you're talking head, and then it can be over their LinkedIn profile, or even like showing your screen if you want to show your own product. And then we'll send that in a LinkedIn connection request that basically says, hey, name, noticed you're writing about cold email. Here's a quick video to show how you could use AI to personalize emails at scale, showing SendSpark in action. So we'll send that. And the thing is, we get really good reply rates because it's usually relevant, like we filtered at least a little bit. And if nothing else, we're connected. And then we keep posting. So that's, I think, the cool thing about LinkedIn versus email. You could send exactly the same message at exactly the right time, but it's not, oh, and now we're connected, so they'll see what I post organically. And so that's why I think LinkedIn's extra powerful compared to email, but also you could just use both because more is better.
I love that. Once you have the connection request too, it becomes a priming game because these people are going to see your content once every week or two. And so if they don't respond right away, it might be a couple of months where they're like, oh, I have this problem. Someone was talking about it before. Oh, it's Bethany. Do you see there's like a boomerang effect? That
exactly, it keeps it fresh. And actually, so that's basically what I always do. And we don't do follow-ups in LinkedIn messages. So basically it's like that one connection request, or for some people on our team, we've been A/B testing empty connection requests, but then you send the video. But after that message is sent, there's no more LinkedIn inbox automation, because otherwise when you meet the person, it's really awkward. And you're like, oh, we have those 5 automated messages for me. So actually like all of our kind of follow-ups after that are targeted happen in email. But then we keep posting and engaging more organically through LinkedIn, and then keep LinkedIn as a chance to be more authentic. Oh, if they visit our website, now we send a DM on LinkedIn, and it feels a little bit less automated.
I like that. It's a soft touch. There's nothing worse than somebody connection requesting you, and then there's the sequence of 5 emails, and without any customization at all.
But it wouldn't work if you didn't keep posting, because otherwise they would just forget about you.
Just to confirm, in-house, you mentioned 2 tools, so it's Expandy and obviously SendSpark. Is there some other pieces of the puzzle that allows you to do, number 1, filtering, and then number 2, pivoting over to email? What does the rest of the stack look like?
Yeah, so we do a bunch of stuff. So we'll also use our B2B and Warmly, both of them, to identify who's on our website. And then we have different messages and automations going off based on that. And then we've also, one thing I'm trying to do, I haven't found a good way to do it, is like when people sign up or do something in SendSpark, find the LinkedIn profile and then reach out. And actually, I have been able to do it, but just everything I've found has a 1-day delay to scrape the LinkedIn profile. So if anyone listening has good tips on that, I'd like it to be immediate, like visit website, automatically reach out via LinkedIn. But there's been a lot of delay. As I said it, I just realized how we could do it, so never mind.
So how are you going to do it?
Our B2B provides LinkedIn's in real time, so I could use that. I was just trying to do it a different way. Like if people sign up so we know who they are, and then you want to send a message on LinkedIn, then like most of the tools I've been playing with, it like they basically will scrape your leads one day, like once a day, because you don't want to be like scraping LinkedIn all the time. You could get banned, so that's why they do it in one day. So if you're using a LinkedIn automation tool, they'll have safeguards against that. But if you're using a different software where they just have the data, then there's no scraping going on.
Fascinating. Yeah,
Anyways, a lot of automation.
I love learning about this. And to close the loop on the email, I know Clay to Smart Lead is really hot right now. Is that part of your stack as well?
Yeah. It's great because you can do cold email with pre-roam domains. And actually, so this is relevant to LinkedIn, but also to our email. We've grown the sales team a bit in the last 3 months. So if you look over like the 9 months previous, I was doing a lot of this myself, where I was posting, scraping leads, sending the DMs, and it was a very full cycle kind of thing. But now that we've grown the team, I'm actually setting it up for other people. So that's why we're moving over some of the automations and using slightly different tools, because it's no longer coming from me, it's coming from our sales team. And so, yeah, Smart Leads have been really great for that because we can instantly set up different domains and different users on those domains and then send the emails out from our sales team. And they have really good ways to send emails out on behalf of other people.
It sounds fairly sophisticated, but from where you started, for people who are just beginning, they can do this with just two tools, Expandy and SendSpark.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I look forward to trying that out. I feel like I learned a ton there. Let's shift gears a little bit. Why don't we get into video? A big part of what SendSpark does is video, and it adds that personal element. Video is really hot on LinkedIn. Are you investing in video yourself on the LinkedIn platform? And if so, how often are you putting up video content?
We do a lot of videos. One thing I'll point out, like amid all of this, is like I'm a founder, right? Like I'm not like a LinkedIn influencer. That's not my job, and that's not what I spend most of my time doing. So if you look at all my stuff, like it's low quality. Like I'm literally using SendSpark to like record stuff and then posting that. So I know like you have this whole other world that's saying to post vertical videos and do things the right way. And I would say definitely listen to them, not me. I'm just like, every now and then I have an idea. I'm like, oh, let me make a quick post and try to get it out before my next meeting. So that being said, I'll end up posting a lot of tutorials and especially like use cases for how to use our platform. So if you go to the videos I've made, it's almost always like me in a bubble, like sharing what I think is a cool use case for SendSpark. One, because usually someone asked me for it, and so I was going to make it for them anyway. And then I'm like, oh, but if I post it to LinkedIn, more people will see it, and maybe they'll want to use SendSpark. And then video does really well on LinkedIn. So it's like a great, like super easy like thing to post, but it's not that, like you could probably do better videos if you tried.
You're dog fooding, you're using your own product, and you're being practical. Making those kind of polished, almost TikTok-y videos, a work style where they're scripted and they're many different cuts and go from people sitting behind the desk to walking down the street, but you have the monologue. Those things take time to produce. I can appreciate that. I'm sure many people out there can. Clearly, LinkedIn has had a big impact on the company. I'm curious to cross over into your personal life, something funny or serendipitous that's happened off of investing in your LinkedIn presence.
Well, one thing that's funny, so when I first decided, let's start checking out LinkedIn as a channel, I made a list of like top people to follow on LinkedIn just as a way to put out good vibes in the world of people that I thought did well on LinkedIn. And I ended up tagging Ben Wright, who I liked his LinkedIn stuff. And then he started advising us a little bit. And then he started working for SendSpark 1 day a week and then 3 days a week. And now he probably works like 20 days a week in the number of hours. So he's our head of growth. And that was just because I'm like, let me tag people I like on LinkedIn in a post. But yeah, that's funny. Definitely like relationships are huge. That's the nice thing about like really doing LinkedIn myself too and not like having a ghostwriter or outsourcing it to marketing is I get to meet a lot of really cool people and just like connect quickly, asynchronously. No, it doesn't take a 30-minute meeting to build relationships.
I'm curious on that note, how much time do you spend outside of the content creation element? I think a lot of people just think, I'm just going to create some content, right? It's like going to an event, meeting people, but it's a digital proxy. You have to make bids for attention. You have to have conversations. You have to try to make a connection. How much are you investing in commenting on people's posts or engaging? How much time do you spend on the platform?
I'll say like
even
a
every
ton
week?
of time, but it's not like I'm blocking off an hour to focus on LinkedIn. It's just that time that otherwise would be like wasted. Like I just grabbed lunch from Cava across the street while I was in line for 5 minutes. I'm like responding to a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn. Same with email, right? Like those are my things like when you have a 15-minute block and you don't have time to do like deep work anyway, you just do it. So I'd never say it's like an active hassle or again, it's like my lowest priority, but you can always find time for it.
Do you have a sense of how much time you do per week?
I'd say like an hour a day or even more is probably right. I feel like I would think it's like in my head I'm like I'd be like, oh, like no time, but I know it is. And it's probably more time than I think, just in all those times like waiting in elevators or in line or just like killing like 5 minutes. Yeah.
And out of that, let's say 5 hours out there, or what percentage do you think is content creation versus engagement?
Oh, I'm talking about engagement.
Okay.
Content creation I do really quickly. Like the content creation is almost always like a shower thought or like I'm making a video for someone else or like a quick thing. I don't spend a ton of time on it.
I like that unpolished, off the cuff. It's authentic. It's real. I like the fact that you spend 5 hours a week engaging. Good example for all the founders who want to put themselves out there. Most of them don't realize there's a kind of investment. It's kind of like going to the gym, be out there, do the reps.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen
I just think
overnight.
it works like best when you're not like trying so hard. Like sometimes I'll talk to people and they're like, oh, I have this strategy for all these people and I write really long comments and other posts and they have so much thought out strategy. And I feel like it's like you do want to have strategy and make sure it's tying to your core like business. Otherwise, why are you doing it at all? But like at that point, you don't want to go overboard and over optimize because I think that's why LinkedIn and social selling works in general is because you're being authentic and you're being you. And the more you think about it, the more you actually lose that authenticity. And it's not like you can ever like mess up that bad. Like if you write a bad, unless you're like being mean, if you write a bad post, worst thing is no one sees it. So no one sees it. So it doesn't matter. So I like just trying to be a little bit like how I think is what gets said. And hopefully that's interesting to people or relevant with our customers or potential customers. But
Seems like it is. Working out. You probably are often having conversations with founders who are a few steps behind. If somebody wants to follow in your footsteps, build a presence, where would you tell them to start?
there's like a bunch of reasons you could use LinkedIn, right? You could be recruiting, you could be selling, you could be fundraising, there's a lot of reasons that you could want to connect with other people. Assuming what you want to do is selling, where I'd say is start with your current sales calls. And in the discovery, what questions are people asking you when they first set up the call? What is it that, and not necessarily like details about your product or your features, but what are the pain points and the changes that they're mentioning about that are taking them to you? And that's probably going to make really interesting content. And especially if you're like a founder doing sales and you're doing like hundreds and hundreds of these calls, like you have so much insight of what's going on in the world. And I think that's what you want to take and share. And you should get your like insight from those real conversations you're having and not what else you see on LinkedIn. Because if you already see it on LinkedIn, someone else already posted it, it's not going to be fresh. But like you do have all this knowledge, it's just up to you to figure out how to wrap it and share it. And I think once people know what they're posting, like I think the hardest thing about posting is knowing what to say and what your content is. So if you can use that as your content source and then just put it out in whatever form you like, could be video, could be text, could be an image if you're like really artistic. I think that's going to be enough to get you rolling, and then you can have fun from there.
I love that. The ideas are out there. They're probably just sitting in front of you. And I think a great place to start is the bottom of funnel. Typically, as you get a more sophisticated organization, you're probably turning that bottom of funnel content into something like a blog article or that probably no one sees or a PDF. But it's pretty practical to put it out there on LinkedIn. Great advice.
Yeah. LinkedIn has way better distribution than like a blog post from my very biased experience. But I think that's the same kind of thing that would have done really good as a blog post 5 years ago. But then it's so hard to rank now with AI tools. And just also SEO, it always has taken time. Versus if you put something out on LinkedIn, there's no barriers. You could just get it seen. It could go viral today without any.
I agree 100%. I got my start in content and SEO too, and that was like the name of the game in marketing 10, 15 years ago. Things have changed. I think social is really the new search. Not only are you competing in SEO with like sharks who have resources to create the best content possible and build links, and there's also Google who's competing with all those companies taking their content and putting in the snippets, now generative AI answers, people aren't clicking the links anymore and the content's not getting found. So I love that approach.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, we could totally be doing it wrong, but I was in marketing before I started SenseSpark, and it used to be so easy to get blogs to rank, even at small companies, without much domain authority. And I feel like it's gotten just so much harder that we ended up just pretty much stopping everything. We'll probably resume blog again at some point, but and even when it was working well, like 5 years ago, it was still like you expected to wait 6 months, and it's hard to go with those kinds of feedback loops in startups. Like, you want to know if what you're saying resonates today, not 6 months from now.
That's a great point. A lot of people can learn a lot from just that insight.
One in between as well I'll mention is YouTube. You know how Google will rank Google or YouTube videos at the top of searches? So we found that it's a lot faster to make a video post to YouTube that's kind of keyword optimized than it is to make a blog post. And then what you could do too is make that video, it's keyword optimized based on what people would search for. It's on YouTube. You could also post it on LinkedIn, and you could also put it in a blog post, and then even use like an AI thing to write the blog post based on the video. So it's if you want to cover all your bases.
Oh, that's smart. Are you doing that with the bottom of funnel content that you referenced before, or are you doing this also with top of funnel, like strategy and tactics and trends, the more non-salesy content?
We were doing it with more specific keywords a few months ago, and then we just got distracted with other things that were more like what I was saying about like sales conversations. That's what we're doing now. Probably restart like more keywordy content soon, because we just moved on to other things. We haven't done a ton of standard SEO, keyword, make a video post. But
it's practical. It's all bottom of funnel. People looking for that stuff are pretty close to buying something.
Yeah.
So I like that. Maybe switching gears, I'm curious who's inspiring you right now when you're on LinkedIn and who's in your feed that you think is crushing it? Who are you learning from?
Yeah. I'll say a few names. I love Alina from Chili Piper, Adam Robinson. I really like his content, and I think there's a couple reasons why I like it. One is like he does the whole like clickbait kind of thing really well, but then he also has so much substance. Like, I was actually thinking about one of his posts that I saw for like hours, and it starts with him saying that the most embarrassing moment of his life was talking to a hot blonde woman, and then which is like the best hook ever, right? But then you get in there and he talks about the situation is basically he was at a party and telling this woman what he did, and he has his own company, we all know he's really successful, etc. And her response was something like, "Oh, that's so cute." Didn't literally say it, but that was the vibe. And I just feel like that has been a response that I've gotten from so many people. My husband's in the medical world, like my sister's in big tech. It's like you go to these parties and people are always like, "Oh, you have your own startup. That's so cute." So it's like one of those things that just resonates probably with every founder, but like also with that perfect blend of like clickbait. I'm just like, this is just a master at work.
Yeah.
So he's great, and Nathan Locke, I'd say, is also just like amazing at good like clickbait, but also really good value. So I like the blend.
That's good. It's funny you mentioned Adam Robinson and Alina come up in the last couple episodes as well. They're doing good things.
Those are the first ones that come to mind. I'm sure there's a ton more people I'm not thinking of. I think also give Ben Wright on my team a shout out, and especially since that's how we ended up connecting to begin with. This is LinkedIn content. He does a really good job of posting some of this stuff as it's happening and doing a good job of as we're learning and figuring new things out, and it's really fresh. So it's got a good food. That's
great. We're nearing the end of the episode here. Is there anything going on at SenseSpark that you'd like to share with the audience?
We have so much going on. We have a lot of new features coming out, a lot of integrations. Like the big focus right now is automating video into your existing LinkedIn automation, like Expandy or email automation, to help you get better results from stuff you're already doing. So we're doing a lot to enhance our integrations and automate more and more of the process so you can just get good engagements, meetings booked, replies without doing too much work. So I'd say stay tuned, follow me on LinkedIn, and we'll be sharing everything as it comes out. Everyone go follow Bethany on LinkedIn, check out SenseSpark. So thank you so much for sharing with me and the audience. Until next time, let's stay connected. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Brad and Spectimer on LinkedIn for hot takes and tactical executive branding advice. For the readers in the audience, subscribe to LinkedIn Famous on Substack.
And if you really loved this episode, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting platform of your choice. Until next time, stay bold, authentic, and keep on creating.